Hi, this is Edward Jerome Houston, better known as EJ Houston, and today I'm going to be talking about my new releases. Um, as you can tell, I'm an actual self-published book author, and I'm going to go over some titles of my new books and later on what they're about and how you can find them. Well, some of my new titles. The first one I actually published is called Abraham Van Helsing, but I'm going to leave that one for last. So the first one, the previous one that I just published, it's called The Fourth Master of the Leviathan, and it's a new release. You can find it on Lulu, but getting to that, I'm going to leave that as the last topic. The second is called Dragon Shard. That one's more of an adventure topic style, and like I said, the final is Abraham Van Helsing. Now, I'm going to go through what these books are actually about. Now, the first, the fourth master of the Leviathan, is actually really about a mother, and it takes you back into this world of like Native American mystical animals and the connections between man and animal. Well, in this world, a lot of animals are a lot bigger. um, the story really goes around this mother who had two children. The husband was technically a master of werewolves, like wolves. I'm sorry, not big, huge wolves, but like dog wolves, like like Twilight wolves, but not as big, But he's technically a master of his wolf. His wolf is well known because it was the only wolf in the whole village, well, in the entire island, that didn't have a mask. And really, how you can, tell a wolf from a normal wild dog is a wild dog's coat is morely solid, a solid color. His is more of a grayish blue, has kind of a dark spot. If you ever notice, a German Shepherd has like dark spots and light spots in his coat, but his wolf had no mask, no outline. That's how a normal person can actually tell a wolf from a normal dog or a wild dog. And it was bigger than every dog on the or wolf on the island, and more ferocious, and it was very powerful. The mother, on the other hand, which is really the story goes around, she actually had a hawk that she rode upon. It's like she can actually sit on its back and actually soar through the skies. And she had two children, one son and one daughter. The son was the youngest, the daughter was the oldest. Now, it really goes to the introduction and the beginning of the story goes to, it's really written in first person, and it's really about the girl talking, and she's discussing like how, it's not fair for the son to get all the attention. Plus, he can go to competitions when on the island they actually host combats where whose creature is better than whose, and they also have amateur contests to get the kids into the feel of not being vicious but actually training, pretty much being one with your bond, your pretty much what they call life companions. And the son actually had a Leviathan. He's the only one in the family that had a Leviathan, which made him the strongest. But he's a kid, But dad is actually proud of his son. But the daughter actually had no creature, no life bond. So she really felt like she was left out. Plus, she couldn't go to the competitions because, dad wants her to stay as a girl. He wants her to be a young lady and stay at home and learn how to do lady things. But mom actually rides a huge hawk. But one thing about when she got married, she didn't do any competitions anymore. Of course, she already earned her stripes. She's like one of the most well-known uh, bond creature masters in the whole island, and she's one of the most toughest females on the island. So she has a very big name. Husband, like I said before, really hasn't won a lot of competitions, but by him actually having a wolf as his symbol made him stand out rather than anyone else. And like I was getting back to it, the whole story really is really about when she loses her daughter. Her daughter leaves because she feels that she's left out. She feels like she's useless, so she leaves and she jumps into the ocean. And her son, on the other hand, actually, he looks after he used to look up to his sister, even though he was treated a little better. Well, in her point of view, he was treated better, but he loved his big sister, and he wondered why. In some cases, why his sister actually didn't have a life bond partner, a companion. So, but when he actually jumped into the ocean to find his sister, this Leviathan came out of the water and actually, you know, told him, "We will find her." And the boy put his hand on the Leviathan's head, and they became a life bond. Now, they have a tradition to get a life bond creature, which is when the creature is a baby, and you have a kid, and they have this ritual to find out your spirit energy, and that spirit energy is pretty much would find its own life bond creature. And pretty much he didn't have to do that. I mean, he just jumped in the water with all the love and passion in the world to find his sister, and this Leviathan, huge Leviathan, came out of the water and told him, "We will find them together." And for future, they actually became life partners. The mother, on the other hand, felt like she lost two of her children, and now she's trying to find them. And pretty much it goes to go. The story actually describes on how powerful she was and how powerful her hawk was, and actually how strong their bond is. They can unite, and she can see what the hawk sees, and with keen eye, because hawks have very great vision. Actually their vision are a lot better than eagles. The eagle has a bigger wingspan, but when it comes to eyesight and vision, depth, nothing beats the hawk. So she can actually see through to the bottom floor of the sea. That's how good she can see. Of course, her range is not that wide, but she's able to see on like straight to the bottom. So she's looking for her child. But yeah, that story really is really a quest of a mother trying to find her two children. I recommend that one. Is pretty much for I would say that one's for teens, because it goes through an emotional tie. You don't want your kids, hearing about, loss and stuff like that. Especially tragic loss. Loss is not a problem. And if someone loses their toy, a kid's going to be sad. But the loss of a child or a parent, it's kind of a strong emotion. But Dragon Shard, I actually recommend that for anybody. Dragon Shard technically is really about there is a small village. Well, it's not really even a village. I mean, it's really ran down. It's really used for crops. Pretty much there was a city on the outskirts that actually built their. A city was built on the outskirts of this little, I would say, a farm. And the farm people are very nice. They're generous, and they give people foods and stuff like that. And some soldiers actually came in and actually built a city there. Had people come, tourists, and all kinds of amazing events and stuff. And once the village became a city, they actually started forcing and enslaving the farm people. Now, the farm people are not fighters. They really don't, look at luxury, and they don't have a unique lifestyle, but they're happy people. They love growing their own crops. They love sitting down and sitting around a nice cozy fire and telling great mythical stories and stuff like that. And well, like one day, some people came, like some of the townspeople from the city came, like officials and infantry, like a couple of infantry archers and stuff like that, came to terrorize the village. And a father, pretty much of the main character, gave their son, once a little farm town got raided, he gave his son a shard, and he told him it is a shard of a dragon's tooth. And pretty much in this story, dragons are pretty much like high beings, high spirited beings. And to, dragons used to actually protect the lands. And over centuries, of course, dragons have died out. So over the centuries, magic was outlawed in almost every part of the world, especially around this era. And the shard actually gives a human host magical powers. You actually can harness the power of the dragon. Now, technically, the shards are actually the dragon themselves. Now, it'll go through in the story telling you how the dragon became a shard in the first place. But getting back to the main part of the story, the main character obtains the dragon shard from his father, and his father fights off some of the villagers while his son escapes. And his last words to his son is protect your mother, and learn how to understand the power of the shard. Be like the dragon. And in this case, the dragon is a pure-hearted being. It always wants to protect the weak and always wants to cherish and embrace love and protection. So he goes to, protect his mother. And it, it really goes into an epic tale. It's very magical, it's very adventurous, and it's not really that much bad stuff that actually occurs in here, but of course there's going to be a lot of twists, to keep my readers interested. There's going to be a lot of battles, and he's going to learn how to master his shard. He actually goes inside of the shard when he starts meditating and learns how to meditate and go into a different world, the world of dragons. And he learns to speak to the dragon himself. It's really good. And for my final piece, which was the first book that I've written, well, the first book I published. I've written numerous amount of books, but I've never been able to publish one. And actually, I finally did, and I named it Abraham Van Helsing. Now, the purpose of me doing that is when I started. I watched this film called Van Helsing. Of course, a lot of people are familiar with Hugh Jackman playing as, Van Helsing, but they called him Gabriel. So my Van Helsing, when I actually did a lot of research on the character, because I seen a lot of loopholes in the movie, and I seen a lot of stories that actually I can use. So after I watched the movie, I started reading up, the book, Bram Stoker's Fable. And I also did some research on, online and all kinds of different websites to figure out why Dracula and Van Helsing had such a long history. Why they know each other so well, and what caused them to hate one another. I know Van Helsing doesn't just hate him because he's a vampire, because he didn't hate anybody. He was an anthropologist. His job was to understand different types of humans and beings and whatever it may be. Understand it, scientist methods. So he couldn't have hated him for something just because he's a vampire, what type of being he was. It had to be something he's done, something that occurred in the past that really triggered a lot of hatred. So what I did is when I actually observed all this and got all that information, my book is called Abraham Van Helsing Origin, which really is about his past, how he became this, pretty much before he became this big time myth hunter, as you may know him to be nowadays. It really addresses all of his adventures, and I put a lot of characters in here. My favorite is the Invisible Man, and I designed him. He was very, very hard to make because of the scientific terms that I had to use, and I had to do a lot of study. I used a lot of realism. I hope people who actually, are into a lot of science enjoy it instead of criticizing, because you have a lot of people who are very direct, and you have to be specific about things. So just remember that this is fiction, and fiction is wide, and you can do a lot of great things, kind of like anime. You can't limit anime. Anime is art, and you can do a lot of things with it, same as fiction. And this is coming from a human, so the reason why I like him so much is because when I designed him not just to be just a scientist and look at not just purpose and reason he also looks at humanity. He was a man that actually lost his family, um, not to what he was, but how much work he put into his work, how much time he put into his work. I'm sorry, excuse me. And his, family he had a son and he had a wife. They were very happy. But the thing is, like, she felt like he actually loved his work more than her. So they pretty much got a divorce, ended up splitting. Technically, they didn't get a divorce. She just left. So that's technically a divorce without paperwork finalizing it. That really crushed him, and he really put more time into his work and became who he was. I'm not going to get into how he did it, but if you actually read the book, it's very well written. There's another character that I put in here. I made my own version of the Wolfman. Technically, all of the characters in here I made alone. I designed them, of course, with some help from my editor, which is RP Girl, of course. You'll see her. She has a lot of stuff online on DeviantArt. And I'll get to the DeviantArt stuff because I also have my own DeviantArt page. But yeah, I've technically published 3 books. And I'm working on my 4th one. And then I'm going to continue the Van Helsing series, or the saga technically. There's going to be a lot of books to go to it. I'm going to try to lengthen it out, and pretty much the whole story is going to be, like I said, how him and Dracula became enemies. But before that, how they became friends, what bonded them together in their grand adventures, how much they depended on one another. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. And we're going to discuss technically where you can find some of my books. I published most of my books on DeviantArt. Well, didn't publish them, but I actually have a lot of free work on DeviantArt. I'm sorry. Well, if you can check out my DeviantArt page to read some of my stuff that I actually put out. But my DeviantArt page, remember, is previous. So technically, my books actually are more up to date. So if you read some of my stuff on DeviantArt, just remember that this was like 3 or 4 years ago. So some of the grammar might be correct. I have not gone through it because I've been working so much on publishing it. But my DeviantArt stuff is, it's going to be on DeviantArt, and you can look it up. You can go to deviantart.com and then type in under user, you can put in Sasuke7. Now, how I spell Sasuke is a lot different. I spell it Sasque. And then put 7, so Sasuke7, and that's where you can find some of my free work. And actually, if you want to publish some of my books, it's going to be on the link below. You can go to lulu.com, or go to lulu.com and type in some of my artwork like Van Helsing or the 4th Master Leviathan, Dragon Shard. Or the easy part is to click the link below, and you can find some of my work there. And I'm going to have an ebook soon, so most of my stuff is also going to be on ebook. So for all the readers that actually love Kindle and ebook readers and stuff like that, my books are actually going to be on there very soon. So actually look out for it, because it's going to be a lot cheaper on there, and I'm going to submit a lot more artwork. And I would love to have some feedback and comment on my work. If you like it, just comment, tell me the things that you did like about it. If you don't, tell me the things you don't like about it. I mean, I would like to, any kind of feedback would do well, because then if there's some things that you don't like, that means I can work on those. Because I'm actually a self-publisher, so I do need a lot of shaking off the tree. I'm kind of young, so it'll be great for you guys to give me a lot of positive feedback. I do encourage positive feedback. But yeah, like I said before, the link down below is where you can find my work, and hopefully I'll see you soon.